Welcome everybody to the show. Welcome to the Cinemacast podcast. This is episode 4. If you're just now tuning in, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below. Also, we live stream on here and on twitch.tv/arrow with a name as well. If you're over there, hop on over and give us a follow on there. Also, for updates and more information on what we're doing and when we're doing it, check us out on Twitter at Big Mike CAWAN. Or click the link down below for our Discord server. If you're on Discord and you want to follow us, click the link down below and join us. Let's get into the show. This is episode 4. We are talking about the 2023 release of Talk to Me. Now, when you look this movie up, this movie was released in another country last year, October 30th last year. So this movie originally came out a year ago. It was just finally released this year in Australia, July 2023. Which means it's basically worldwide, you know, or in certain cinemas. This movie, God, I cannot describe in so many words how I felt about this film going into it. This was one movie that was widely talked about, said to be one of the scariest movies in a decade. Said to be, you know, very terrifying, has a real good gripping story, and all that good stuff to it. But how true are the claims when it comes to this movie? You don't know. So, going into this movie, and with an open mind, and I was hoping to experience something quite different, quite new, quite fresh. And this is your typical supernatural horror film. This film was directed by Danny and Michael Filippo, and it was written by Danny Filippo and Bill Heinzman. This was based on a concept by Daley Pearson. This movie stars Sophie Wilde. Sophie Wilde, to me, is a new actress. She's 26 years old. I'm looking her up. And I don't really recognize any films that she's done recently. I'm guessing maybe she's an Australian actress. I don't know any actresses in any other countries, you know, like the Down Under or in Europe or whatever. You know, I usually hear about ones that are, you know, in the country or, you know, anybody that's more mainstream today, even the older actors and actresses that are still going out at Hollywood. This movie was made on a $4.5 million budget and brought in $63.5 million. So this was not technically a low budget film, but it had that, you know, it had that feeling, it had that feel of, yeah, some money went into this movie with the way the special effects and everything was. Now, looking at the critical response for this movie, if you go to Wikipedia and read up on it, now, I don't highly recommend Wikipedia for a lot of things, because Wikipedia, they do fabricate details on anything that you're looking up, whether it be music, movies, arts, topics, you know, anything trending, anything whatsoever. I use it as a quick go-to, in case if I can't find information on certain other things, you know, they at least try to get some of the information right, so it's a 50-50 on what you get when it comes to factual information. But according to Rotten Tomatoes, they gave it a 95% rating of 273 critics' reviews that are positive. The movie's average rating is a 7.7 out of 10. The website's consensus reads that with a gripping story and impressive practical effects, Talk to Me spins a terrifically creepy 21st century horror yam built on classic foundations. Now, I don't know if I could say the same thing about it. I mean, all supernatural films, they have a formula, they have a story, they have a plot to work with. But to me, they all feel the same. They may try something a little bit different, a little bit more unique, maybe something that hasn't been seen before or used before within a certain genre of the film. Take the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, you know, famously made by Wes Craven. Now, out of 6 movies that Wes Craven has done or was based off of his original idea, they all follow the same concept. A group of teenagers who they struggle with, you know, this demon in their nightmares when they go to sleep that stalks them and kills them. That's the concept throughout 6 of those films. And mostly people would see them as popcorn flicks, even though they're sequels in a sense. Some characters do carry over. But at the end of each movie, the villain, Freddy Krueger, is killed off in some spectacular way, but always finds a way to be recreated or brought back in the sequel. And the films are always made to be, you know, more of a gore fest. It's like, how can we see Freddy kill somebody off this time around? You know, what new techniques is he going to use? That's for the first 6 movies. And then Wes Craven does the final in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise at the time, New Nightmare. They tried something new, something original. They wanted to break the fourth wall and make it seem like this is about the movies. You know, you got a film where you're actually, you know, sympathizing with the actors and the actresses that use their actual names, you know, in the movie. And it's a concept of, you know, Heather Langenkamp's character, you know, well, she plays herself. And she starts having these, you know, these things happen around her household, and it's affecting her young son. And she's trying to get answers from every which way she can. She meets with Wes Craven, Robert Englund, some other people who may have had experiences from the film. It seems like the film's story is trying to take a grip on reality and haunt her son. And then, of course, you know, in the final acts, you know, the climax up to the final act, you do see Robert Englund, you know, donning the Freddy Krueger outfit once again, you know, the persona and all. But it's much more darker in detail. There's no slapstick comedy. There's no quirky one-liners. I mean, he tries, but it's got a more dark grip to it. And I feel like the only thing that's different with it is the reality base of, okay, it's breaking the fourth wall. Even though we're watching it as a movie, it's not based on an actual event or a documentary or something like that, you know, but it has a different feel and take to it, which made the movie New Nightmare pretty different in a sense. But it was still considered part of that subgenre of supernatural slasher horror. So when I revert back to Talk to Me, and it talks about, oh, it's a supernatural horror film. Well, of course, but there's a slight take with this movie, and it's got people. It's just gripping to people, as it says. You know, it's taking a grip on people, as the poster proclaims. You know, once it takes hold, it refuses to let go. Me, it kind of had a little hold on me, but then I'm like, the story's kind of bland a little bit. It's kind of dull. It's something that you see, some cliches, you know, within the movie. You know, every horror movie out there has some kind of cliche to the story that you know, that tries to give it a backbone, but you see it in every fucking horror movie out there. So with this film, I'm going to try not to go into too many spoilers with this film. Maybe some spoilers a little bit, but I'm going to try not to explain the entire movie to you guys, because I think that's a boring detail that I brought with the first 3 episodes that drags them out. So I'm going to, you know, give a little insight into this, and then I'm going to talk about it. So this movie, you got Sophia Wilde. She plays this character, Mia. And you learn at the beginning of the film, and I think I must have tuned out from it when it first started, you know, because a lot of movies, they start out pretty slow. This is how this film felt. It felt like kind of a drag for the most part until it gets up to certain scenes. But you learn that this, you know, this 17-year-old teenager, you know, she's struggling with the 2nd anniversary of the death of her mother. And she has this very distant relationship with her father. And for the most part, she doesn't, she tends to, like, I guess, get in trouble at school or whatever, that kind of thing. She's feeling pretty distant, but she does have friends that she consults with, consults in and talks to. Now, for the majority of this movie, what takes place around this hand, it's a ceramic molded hand that these teenagers happen to have, in their possession. Think of it as like a Ouija board. It's a new kind of Ouija board that allows you to talk to the dead. Only it's a hand. So what happens with this? You got a group of teenagers. They all take turns. There's a scene where they all take turns, and it becomes one kind of like a party scene. They play music. People are laughing and shit. Everything's just going pretty goofy. It's like it's got that goofy feel to it. And at this point, it's like this doesn't feel like a gripping horror movie to me. And I know a lot of modern horror movies, they try to lighten the mood with some scene that'll make you laugh or hopefully, quote unquote, make you feel better. But I come to watch a horror movie. I come to watch a movie that's going to scare me, that's going to wow me in some sense. I'm not here to watch a comedy. I'm not here to watch any kind of action. I'm here to watch something that can grip me and terrify me in some sense. I've had very few movies in the past in my life that has had that feeling, that sense of horror that has really gripped to me, and I can still think about it to this day and enjoy it. Like the Hellraiser movies, there's really no comedic value to the movie Hellraiser. It's very dark, it's gothic, it's graphic, it's gruesome, and it still holds up to this day. But with this movie here, as I said, there's at least two, maybe three scenes in this movie where these teenagers are having this little get-together party, and they pull out this hand. Once again, it's like a Ouija board. Think of it as like a Ouija board. They set it on this coffee table, and one by one, volunteers are strapped into the chair right in front of it. And then you have somebody light a candle on the opposite side of the table, and this hand is facing them. And all they got to do is reach out, grab the hand like they're shaking it, and say the words, "Talk to me." And immediately after they say that, they may hear a voice or something, but for the most part, they'll see a spirit sitting right across from them, or maybe even next to them. But they see a spirit, and it freaks them out because of how the spirit looks. There could be a gruesome spirit, somebody who died graphically, or maybe a half a face, and then the other half is very disfigured or whatever. And it scares the hell out of this girl, Mia. She don't know what to think of it. So there's one of two things that they can do with the spirit, in a sense. And this is what my take from it. This is where I feel. You could ask the spirit questions, talk to me, I want to communicate with you. Talk to me. And the spirit is right there. You can ask it questions. It's kind of like, like I said, like a Ouija board. You can ask it questions. How old am I? When am I going to die? When am I going to die? That kind of thing. But then, you can allow the spirit to commune with you. And it's usually followed by the words, "I let you in." And when you say those words, "I let you in," you enable the spirit to possess you. And that's what happens with each character. They let a spirit possess them for an X amount of time. The connection then must be severed before 90 seconds in order to prevent the spirits from binding themselves to that person. So, this is a dangerous game of Ouija, in a sense. You speak to a spirit, you call to it, you allow them to enter your body to possess you, and you have 90 seconds to do it. By then, at the end of 90 seconds, if you can't get anything out that you're trying to go for, then you have to have somebody pull the ceramic hand from you and blow the candle out to release the spirit and bring you back. That's what happens with this thing. So this girl Mia, with all the tragic things that had happened to her, you know, with her mother dying and everything, and there's parts in the movie where she does see the spirit of her mother who tries to help her at times, try to piece together clues, but then there's also some false narratives too. And we've seen this in other paranormal movies as well, where you will have a scene where you think you're seeing one thing, but it's something completely else. Like, there could be a demonic spirit entering the room to attack the girl, which it happens. It's a scene in the movie that happens, you know, where something is coming at her to attack her, but she ends up stabbing her dad in the neck. That's a scene in the movie. And you guys know how I always talk about spoilers, so there's going to be spoilers. So if you have not seen this movie and you don't want any spoilers, leave out, go watch the movie and come back. Now, even though this girl Mia, she has these spirits haunting her, and she sees them all around, but then her best friend and her best friend's brother become involved with this. They have another ritual with this hand. The best friend's brother ends up as the next victim to this hand, and he's very young too. You know, they're very cautious and careful with this kid, but he takes a chance. He takes a stab at it, but then something goes wrong. Something really goes wrong with what happens next. It's like, not only are they able to get the hand off in time, but at this point the boy is completely possessed, and then by then something inside of his body proceeds to beat the hell out of him, throwing him across the room. He takes himself over to a window and tries to bash his head on a dresser or a table or something. He tries to commit suicide. Luckily, they are able to stop him from doing that. You know, he barely survives, but he ends up in the hospital. So for the remainder of this movie, this girl, Mia, is being blamed for hurting him, for getting him involved. And she spends the remainder of the movie trying to figure out a way to communicate and get a hold of the other side to see where this boy is. He's being tortured by other demons while this one demon who's possessing his body is taking over. So she tries to find a way to bring him back. Meanwhile, she's being haunted by spirits herself. And there's a whole bunch of things that go on. It's not really confusing, but the story, there's just so much to talk about. And I'm not going to try to, you know, talk too much. I'm not going to try to explain the whole synopsis. But that's basically what this movie is. It's your typical haunted house type movie where you have spirits that are, you know, surrounding and haunting a certain person. You know, you got talks of possession. You have an inanimate object used as a Ouija board. But you have an interesting concept with it, which is, you know, like a candlelit thing. Talk to the spirit for 90 seconds. If you're not, you know, if you don't have them out of there, you know, we'll blow the candle out and pull the thing from your hand. And just like with every paranormal or supernatural movie, there's always something different, always something unique. But they always seem to come back to that cliche. That cliche of something. Now, I will go ahead and talk about the ending of it. Now, like I said, if you don't like spoilers, go and watch the movie, come back. So Mia, here's the ending synopsis to this. Now, the boy's name is Riley. That's the boy that she's trying to save. And I believe Jade is the sister of the boy. So Mia suddenly finds herself in the hospital, and this is the end of the movie. She sees that a fully recovered Riley is waking up with his family and her father leaving in an elevator going up. So at one point she sees her dad in the hospital. This is after a whole lot of other things have happened. When no one responds to her, Mia realizes that she had died and became a spirit herself. After becoming engulfed in darkness, Mia approaches a human hand and a candle in a distance. She finds herself summoned at another party where one of the partygoers says, "I let you in." So she becomes part of this Ouija board, there's this hand, and this inanimate object that's cursed, that's haunted. So this girl ends up sacrificing herself at the end to save her best friend's brother, but ends up dead and stuck in the spirit realm. And she's stuck sort of in a loop. Now she's in the realm where, okay, she's got to wait for somebody to call to her, and she answers, basically. So that is the movie right there. Talk to Me. It has an interesting end to it. You know, she realizes that she has died, and, you know, she sees something that may be a light, you know, her way of getting out, but she ends up, you know, at the end of, you know, at the ass end of the spectrum. She's talking to somebody who's alive. And with this movie, with the praise it has gotten, and the success of the box office, now they're saying that a sequel is in production. Now they're saying that the production studio's A24 has a sequel titled, oh God, get this, Talk to Me. 2, the number 2, Talk to Me. It's in development, with the studio releasing its official logo at the same time. So now you got a sequel coming out. Now, usually with movies like this, where they take a chance on it, and they're like, oh yeah, it did really good, we're going to bring a sequel to it, da 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 da. It's like, alright, how are you going to do the sequel? And usually the sequel ends up not that great. It could go one of two ways. People could love it, or people could go, it was alright. It's not worth a second showing to me. And that's what happens with a lot of horror movies. They'll take a chance on a sequel and hope that it will spark the same magic that the first film did, but it never quite hits the spot. Like, quite recently, I took a look at the movie Sinister. It's been years since I watched Sinister. The first one, it was good. It really hit the box, or it really hit the spot. Now, the second one, I don't really quite remember, but I don't remember it being as good as the first one, but it had its moments. But certain movies should just be left alone. I mean, I don't think movies like this, like Talk to Me, I don't think they're deserving of a sequel, because whether or not they're good or not, why take that chance and ruining it? You know, turning it into a franchise to milk off of it. Why not just make a movie that's just one movie, that's it. If it makes money, if it's really good, promote it, get it out there, people enjoy it, people will love it. But in their minds, they're thinking, well, people want more. They want more. They want to know what else happens. I mean, let's have somebody else talk to the hand, you know? Like, no. This is a movie that should be left alone. I don't think this movie, in my opinion, is worthy of a sequel. Mind you, it does have an interesting concept with talking to the dead. It has an interesting story. But all supernatural-based movies, they have that same sense of appeal to them. And I just felt kind of sour after watching this movie. It did not really grip me. I watched it from beginning to end. I almost wanted to turn it off at one point. But, you know, movies like this, you know, I try to push myself through. I try to make it work. And I made it work, but you know, it's like it's not like a roller coaster ride. It's like it tried to do something, but it ended up collapsing for me in the end. I'm not going to say this movie was incredibly terrible to me, you know, because like I said, the characters were they had that cringy appeal to them. They felt like they all should have maybe died off or whatever. You know, you got this young Australian actress. She tries her damnedest in this film. You know, she tries her damnedest to be something incredible. But this movie actually fell short for me. This is one of those movies that has a 95% rating on it. 4 stars. 7 out of 10. but it didn't really appeal to me at all. It didn't. Like, you know, like I said, it has an interesting concept to it, but it fell short. I felt like I had my hand on that grip, you know, for quite a while, and then I just lost that grip. When I watch a movie, you know, that's in a horror genre, I expect to be not bedazzled or wowed, but I expect to be in that reality where nothing else matters. I want to be lost in the cinema. I want to be lost in the film. That's where a movie is enjoyable. This movie wasn't quite enjoyable for me. If I were to watch it again, I would tune in and out. That'd be about it. Talk to Me, I personally would give it a 6 out of 10. If you would like to check this movie out, and you all may have a different opinion that's much different than mine, let me know in the comments section what you guys think. There's a lot of people out there that like it, then there's people that don't like it. Everybody has certain opinions about certain movies. That's the way it is. So, what did you like about it? What did you hate about it? Did you agree with today's review? Did you disagree? Let me know down in the comments section, guys. But I give this movie, Talk to Me, a 6 out of 10. I think this movie was overhyped. It's overdone. They tried too much to make it something completely different. Oh, they tried to say this is the best horror movie, you know, this year or in this decade alone or whatever. Now, there's a lot of good ones out there, trust me. Even if you're somebody old school like me that sticks to the original stuff from the 80s and the 90s and even before that, check out some of those movies. They have some really good movies from back in those times. 30, 40 years ago, you know? But this movie, I'm not saying stay away from it. I say check it out at least once with a friend or you solo, you know? It's not that scary to watch it alone, you know? Just check it out. It's one of those movies that rely more on jump scares. That's it. You know, this is a jump scare movie. Jump scares are alright, but I don't want to watch a movie that's engulfed in jump scares. I want something that terrifies you with the setting, with the mood of the movie. You know, how dark it is, how moody it is. That's like with Hellraiser. Hellraiser, shit, watch it as a character, it terrifies you, you know? There's always something about a horror movie that will terrify you as a child. These movies nowadays, like with this one, I think it's R-rated. I can't remember. It's either R-rated or PG-13 rated, but well, I think it is R-rated because there is some graphic detail to it. But an R-rated movie like this, for the concept that it has, this is an embarrassment to me as a horror fan, as a true horror fan. This is an embarrassment. And that does it for today's review, guys, of Talk to Me. What did you guys think of this movie? Did you see it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Like I said, let me know down in the comments section below. And as we're heading out of this podcast, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below as well. If you guys want to check out our live podcasts and our other video contents as well, you can watch us live on here. Check out our contents on here, or you can watch us live on twitch.tv/errorwithaname. Once again, also, if you want updates on everything that we do here and when we're going to be live, when we're going to post content, follow us on Twitter at BigMikeCAWAN. Or if you're on Discord and you want to check out updates over there, hop on Discord, click that link, and join us today. Thank you so much, guys, for watching today's episode of Cinemacast, Episode 4, Talk to Me. We will catch you next week with Episode 5. Next week's topic, we will let you know what that is. Sometime next week, Monday or Tuesday. Be hyped for that. Until then, guys, Cinemacast. Catch y'all on the flip.